So, WWE had a pay per view over the weekend, and a big four pay per view at that, and we are here to review it. With that being said, my name is Justin Rich, and welcome to Justin Rich Talks WWE SummerSlam. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am pumped and excited for this review because it's that time of the year. It's summertime, people are outside, people are on vacation, people going to the pool, to the lakes, to the ocean, to the beach and whatnot. But it's also that time of year where WWE has their annual pay-per-view, SummerSlam, which is my personal favorite pay-per-view out of the calendar year for WWE. You know, as a summer baby born July 15th, summertime, this is my jam. This is where we have birthdays. This is where we're outside and about. The weather is gorgeous. It's nice and hot. You're not trying to stay indoors. But also, as someone that attended SummerSlam as my first pay-per-view show or wrestling experience, whatnot, I've always had nostalgia for SummerSlam. Not to mention, SummerSlam is usually the pay-per-view of the calendar year for WWE, where it's like, this is the pay-per-view where you get like some bomb-ass matches, and this is for the fans. Like, WrestleMania is the biggest show of the year. It's the showcase of the Immortals. It's the show that obviously they treat it like the Super Bowl and is treated as such. But WrestleMania is more for the casual fans, the fans that don't really watch the product all year round, haven't watched in a while, or haven't watched wrestling to begin with, and this is their first time watching. So WrestleMania is more geared towards getting the people that aren't used to watching WWE product, because they already know, like, yo, the people that watch every day, every week, every month, every premium live experience, you guys are pulling up regardless. But this is to get the other fans in. Whereas SummerSlam, this feels more geared towards the fans who watch all year round. Like, this is our show. This is where you see Bret Hart elevate from the Hart Foundation to a single status. This is where you see Shawn Michaels start to elevate up the card towards the mid card and towards the main event scene. This is where you see guys like AJ Styles, Finn Balor. You see the company take a chance on them. The New Day. This is where their longest tag team title reign began at SummerSlam. Even, the Four Horsewomen. You have Sasha walking in as champ and getting the victory as Raw Women's Champion. Becky Lynch heel turn on Charlotte Flair, which is the genesis of the man. So SummerSlam, and we didn't even talk about Bret Hart, British Bulldog, 92, main eventing SummerSlam in Wembley for the IC title. When was the last time you seen an IC title main event and premium live experience? But SummerSlam is usually like, this is for us. This is the one for us, the diehard fans who are watching all the time, every week, and we are tapped into the product. So with that being said, WWE pulled up to Detroit, Michigan this past weekend for SummerSlam, the showcase, the summer event of the year, or whatever the damn tagline is. But this was a stacked card. This was so stacked that people were complaining about matches that weren't even on this card. I'm looking at you, Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus. You guys had a lot to say on social media this past week over Becky and Trish not being on this card. Now, I'll give my quick thought on that, even though this is not a pay-per-view. I can see both sides of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, on one hand, I agree with Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus in their frustration, where it's like, this is a story about the women, a secondary storyline that does not involve a women's championship. You have a Hall of Famer in Trish Stratus, a future Hall of Famer in Becky Lynch, and even Zoe Stark, who just got called up not too long ago, but is an integral part of this story. And this kind of goes back to WrestleMania, where it was Becky and Trish and Lita versus Damage Control. So this is kind of like Becky and Trish has been intertwined with each other for a little bit, and a little bit being a couple months. So you would want the blow off to their feud to be on a big pay-per-view, especially, you know, SummerSlam is arguably the second biggest pay-per-view in WWE's calendar year. Rumble is important for the Rumble winners because for the men, they main event WrestleMania. For the women, they're either the co-main or main event of night one of WrestleMania. But outside of the Rumble, do you really pay attention to the matches? Do you really go back and pull up like matches that were on the Rumble card but not the Rumble match itself? And the same can go for Survivor Series, where the last couple of years Survivor Series kind of fell off to where like it wasn't hitting like it should have been, not like it was like back in the day where it kind of meant something. Money in the Bank basically supplanted Survivor Series as a Big Four pay-per-view, and even Money in the Bank is in the same boat as Royal Rumble. Are you really going back and watching Money in the Bank matches that don't involve the ladder match and or cash-ins with the Money in the Bank briefcase? No. So SummerSlam is the second biggest show of the year, and you want a few like Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus on that card. So I can see their frustration where it's like, yo, you couldn't like fit us in there, even though there's not like 15 matches on this card. There's only like, I believe 8 official matches on this. But then you gotta look at the flip side of this. You gotta look at it from WWE's perspective. We already have 8 matches on this card, and we want to give everyone their time. So if we add Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, there's a chance where Becky and Trish don't get the time that they need, which means we're asking you 10 minutes max, and that's including entrances and whatnot. Or you're cutting from other people's matches, whether it's the women's triple threat, whether it's Gunther and Drew McIntyre. You're not cutting from Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. You gotta have LA Knight on this card, which is why Slim Jim cut the big ass check to make sure we're getting a battle royal on here. You're not cutting from Ronda and Shayna because then you're cutting from one women's match to another. So what's the solution? How about we keep you guys off the card, but you guys in 2 weeks time, you have your high profile blow off match, most likely. You have it on Raw. There's a solid chance you main event it because it's going to be in Canada, which is Trish's country's backyard. So that's, you know, home field advantage for Trish Stratus. And you have all the latitude to do what you want and paint your own picture with an unlimited canvas, versus if you had this on SummerSlam, it would kind of be rushed. And would you rather it get the time that it needs, or would you rather it be rushed? So that's just my quick view on Becky and Trish, because that got a lot of buzz going into SummerSlam. But since we're here, why don't we just talk about SummerSlam and let's get to it. So if you need a fresh reminder on how we do things on this channel, we go by my 4-point play, which is as follows. We take a look at the pay-per-view. We talk about 3 things that I like from the show, 1 thing I didn't like from the show, my match recommendation, and my overall pay-per-view rating on a scale of 1 to 5 mics, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. So the first thing that I liked on this show was Io Sky, the genius of the cash-in. Our beloved Io Sky, 1/3 of Damage Control, who is our Money in the Bank holder, shot her shot, picked her spot, and claimed gold. But let's back up a little bit and talk about this match. So this was your co-main of the show with Asuka, your WWE Women's Champion, decorated champion, Grand Slam champion, arguably one of the 5 biggest wrestlers in WWE's history. You have Charlotte Flair, the Queen, arguably the GOAT, arguably the greatest women's wrestler in WWE's history, if not women's wrestling. Her resume has resumes on stock their resumes. That's how decorated Charlotte Flair is. And then you have Bianca Belair, the former champion, who was on this 3-year nuclear run of just excellence, defeated Sasha Banks in the main event of WrestleMania 37 for the SmackDown Women's Championship, defeated Becky Lynch in arguably the best match at WrestleMania 38, defeated Asuka at this year's WrestleMania. But unfortunately, Bianca lost her title in the Saudi show to Asuka. Asuka hit her with that miss, and our beloved Bianca was not prepared for that. So now we have a triple threat where Bianca's trying to reclaim gold. Charlotte Flair played her white privilege card and said, I'm Charlotte Flair. I don't do lines. I skip lines. Do you know who I am? Have you seen my resume? I just won a title shot. And boom. And Asuka, being the champion that she is like, yo, I've beaten you and I've beaten you. You think I'm scared of either one of you? Let's do this. So now we have this triple threat where you got Bianca that's trying to reclaim the gold, Asuka's trying to hold on to it, Charlotte's trying to add to her resume because she's coming up on her father's record for the most title reigns in history. She's what, at 14 right now? So she's very close to that. And unfortunately, with the triple threat, this ain't doing Asuka any favors because Asuka's basically like at a disadvantage where disqualifications don't help her, countouts don't help her. It's just straight up like, yo, I have a 33 1/3% chance of winning this match with no champion advantage. Yes, I did a little Steiner math. Holla at your boy. And then on top of that, the wild card going into this was Io Sky, because Io Sky had been pump faking and teasing the cash in. Like, she pulled up on Rhea Ripley on Raw looking at her brand new women's title, and Rhea Ripley basically was like, yo, I don't know if you want the smoke. I don't know if you want these hands. Like, you better go somewhere else or you're going to be the first person to have an unsuccessful cash in. And Io, you know, she took heed. She was smart. She was like, you know what? I ain't going to fuck with you, Rhea. I'm going to go pull up on SmackDown. And I'm going to taunt and tease Asuka. I'm going to tease this cash in because fans have been asking, yo, when are we getting Asuka and Io Sky? Whether it's a title match or straight up 1v1. And now that Io has the Money in the Bank briefcase, it's like, why not cash in on Asuka and make that happen? So Io's been the wild card looming around this match the entire time. So the match actually begins, and obviously you have three of arguably the best women's wrestlers on the planet right now. I know Mercedes Moné has a claim to that as well. I know there are women in Stardom, Julia, Tam Nakano, other ones that have claims to that. I know Trinity's making her trim pack over in Impact right now to make a claim for best women's wrestler in the world. I know some of the AEW girls be like, yo, we've been putting in this work. Now, it's not just WWE centric, but Asuka, Charlotte, Bianca, like, you don't get more star-studded than that. And you get what you get in this match. Now, they started out a little clunky. They started out a little not hitting their gear. They didn't go from 0 to 60. It felt like 0 to 20. And then a little laboring to get from 20 to 60. As far as, you know, feeling each other out. Obviously, you're in Detroit, you're in Ford Field. That's a big ass football stadium. So you can have a little nerves, a little jitter. And it's just, you know, it's been a while since you've had a triple threat of this magnitude with Asuka, Charlotte, and Bianca. I think this is the first time you've had all three in the ring at the same time since, like, I guess a Rumble. So it's a feeling out process, and it took a little to get in the gear. But once they got in the gear, it was a matter of who could try to outmaneuver the others, who was able to gain an advantage over the others for at least 3 seconds. There was times where Asuka was able to jump on Bianca or Charlotte. There's times where Bianca was able to take advantage of the other two. There's times where Charlotte Flair used her ring awareness, her ring prowess. There's a reason why she is a 14-time champion. And they were teasing submissions. Asuka was teasing her Asuka lock. Charlotte tried to lock in her figure eight a couple times. Bianca, oh man, let's talk about Bianca, because Bianca takes a spot where she dings up her knee and then she ends up getting tossed outside where she falls. It sounds like she falls on the steel steps, those Fable steel steps, man. And she's just holding her knee and it's like, oh man, is she like kayfabe injured or is she like legit injured? Because you just saw the medical people just go rush over to her immediately and then take their time with her and then they made sure that they were focusing the camera on Bianca. So it felt a lot like Sasha Banks 2016 at Hell in a Cell when Sasha was selling the hell out of the bag and they were like, well, does she continue? Can she continue? Do we want her to go in this match or not? Let's drag this out for a little bit. And then eventually Sasha wasn't having that. She ends up going inside the cell, closing the cell. I was like, F that. My title's on the line. Ring that bell. Let's run this. So it felt like 2.0 where you weren't sure Bianca was going to wrestle. They were selling that knee. Maybe we had to take her out of this. That way it's just a straight up 1v1 between Asuka and Charlotte Flair. And eventually Bianca hobbled her way back in this match like, yo, I'm not going out like this. I am the EST. I'm the roughest, the toughest, the fastest, the strongest. And also you can add boldest because even on one leg, she went up there and was hitting spots. She was holding her own against Charlotte Flair when Charlotte Flair was like, oh, You want to stand tall with me, Bianca? You want this smoke? All right, bring it. And Bianca held her own against the queen to show like, yo, I am a 3-time women's champion, or 3-time or 2-time. I believe it's 2-time women's champion, if not 3-time women's champion. I'm trying to reclaim my damn gold, and I've had enough of your shit. Not to mention, Charlotte, you jumped this line, so you are owed these hands. You have a receipt coming. So we get to the finish, and unfortunately, Bianca is doing the best she can on one leg, but Charlotte Flair takes advantage, gets her in the figure 8, gets her up there. It looks like Bianca's about to tap, and all of a sudden, is that Asuka's music I hear? Yes, because Asuka all of a sudden hits her with a miss. Blah, blah, blah. Hits Charlotte Flair in the face with the miss. And then it looks like Asuka's going to try to go and pin Bianca, but Bianca's able to roll her up. 1, 2, 3, and new WWE Women's Champion, Bianca Belair. Our beloved EST is able to stand tall against the mighty Asuka, against the even mightier Charlotte Flair, become a 3-time or 4-time women's champion. We'll fact check this shit later, but Bianca's able to reclaim her gold, reclaim her title. However, it was very short-lived because, is that Io Sky's music? Yes, yes, yes. Io Sky's music hits. Not even 30 seconds, 45 seconds later, Io Sky's music hits, and all of a sudden you just see Io Sky running her ass to the ring, Money in the Bank briefcase in hand, and right behind her is Bayley hauling ass trying to keep up with Io Sky. They're just running. Bayley gets the briefcase, knocks Charlotte Flair out of the way, knocks Asuka out of the ring. Bayley gets in the ring, tries to hit Bianca with the briefcase. Bianca's able to get the best of Bayley. However, Io's right there, able to knock Bianca. And then Io Sky hands the briefcase over to the referee. I'm cashing in. And kudos to the ref, whoever's reffing this, for not taking an hour and a half to accept the cash in, like Mike Chiodo did with Carmella back in 2018 when Carmella cashed in on Charlotte Flair. And Chiodo took like 2.5 hours to be like, are you sure? Are you sure, Carmella? Are you really sure? You're positive. Swear to God? Cross your heart, hope to die? Pinky swear? Okay, so let's run this back. So are you positive you want to cash in? You're absolutely sure. Chiodo walks away, comes back. All right, dead ass. You really, really, really want to cash in? Like, are you sure? And then mind you, Carmella's screaming her lungs out to where it's like, I felt like she was about to kill my Chiodo in that ring. It's like, if you don't cash this damn briefcase in, I will murder you in front of everyone. So I was afraid that, you know, WWE loves dragging this out from time to time, but this time we didn't get that. It was just straight up, I'm cashing in. The rest like, all right, she's cashing in. Here you go. We're gonna get to this right now. And thank God, because Io hits her finisher. 1, 2, 3, and no WWE Women's Champion, Io Sky. And what a turn of events, because not only was Bianca's win short-lived, but this was a full circle moment. This was a year coming. Let's rewind back a year, as the Joker would say. Let's rewind the clocks back a year. So it's SummerSlam in Nashville. We have Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. Bianca is able to stand tall and finally vanquish Becky Lynch for good. And then all of a sudden, Bayley returns, makes her return after a year on the shelf with a torn ACL. She pulls up with Dakota Kai. She pulls up with Io Sky. They form Damage Control and make their intentions clear. They're coming after Bianca and her title. And so for an entire year, you basically had every single member of Damage Control going after Bianca Belair in her championship. Bayley being the one that was really entangled with Bianca for the longest. But for Io to get this title a year later in Detroit, to kind of close that loop of Damage Control going for Bianca's gold and taking it from her, and Io being the one to get the title, not Bayley, not the decorated champion, the former hugger, our beloved role model. No, it was the genius of the sky that was able to get it done. And then salute to Dakota Kai too, who's right now on the shelf with a torn ACL of her own, but was able to pull up for the event at the very last minute. Because I know she was talking about this on her Twitch channel about the hectic day that she had from that afternoon on, just trying to get to Detroit and get there in time. And it's a good thing WWE put this as a co-main event. Otherwise, she would have missed it. But to have all the damage control right there celebrating Io's win was just priceless. And again, moving forward, this helps out the women's division because not only do you have a fresh champion in Io Sky, now you can have Asuka running back, and we finally get our Asuka Io Sky match where Asuka be like, yo, I want a rematch, but I want a 1v1 because this is some bullshit and I was former champion, so I'm using the rematch clause. If you're Bianca, you could be like, yo, I wasn't even at full strength and I got jumped. I want a rematch. And you know Charlotte Flair's gonna come out of nowhere and be like, yo, I'm playing the Charlotte Flair card. I want a title match. I want number 15. I want you. So with Io as champion, it refreshes the women's division over in SmackDown. On top of Bayley's been hinting at a heel turn or going even heel and turning on Io Sky. And even Io's been hitting on a face turn, going back to Money in the Bank where she handcuffed Becky Lynch and Bayley to get that Money in the Bank briefcase in the first place. And it feels a little like what AEW's doing with Luchasaurus and Christian, whereas Bayley's looking at it as like, all right, Io's champion, but that's our championship. This is our title, even though technically this is Io's. And Io could be like, yo, I'm the one who won it. What are you talking about? Like, this is my title. So that was the first thing I liked on this show, was Io Sky's cash-in. And again, the women are still undefeated with cash-ins. So someone's got that Money in the Bank briefcase. Buyer beware. The second thing that I liked on this show was Logan Paul and Ricochet soar to new heights. So this match ended up opening the show, and we saw it coming because Logan Paul made it clear like, yo, I want to go see my brother fight later on that night. I'm not staying until the end of the show. Let's get this over with. He pulled up Brock Lesnar. Logan Paul pulled up with a Prime and a Brock Lesnar I do what I want card. And what I want is to get this match over with as quickly as possible so I can jump on the first private jet out of Detroit and go watch Jake Paul fight. So we knew this was going to open the show, and it was actually smart for it to open the show because you have a hot opener where that crowd is just hot, ready to go. That first match, they're going to be cheering regardless. And it's very hard to fuck up the first match. It's like you want to start off the pay-per-view strong and come out the gate on a good foot, but that crowd is just ready to go. So Logan Paul, the Maverick, that hated dastardly heel that the crowd ain't feeling. They're like, yo, get the fuck out of here and take your Prime bottle with you. And Ricochet, who's been built up nicely in this feud, where talking is not Ricochet's biggest strong suit, but we know Ricochet can wrestle his ass off. He's basically like a transformer and a fucking superhero in human form with the things that Ricochet can do in ring. And Ricochet rarely has bad matches, so it's like we know exactly what we're getting in this, and we know Logan Paul can actually wrestle. For a celebrity that wrestles selectively, he does very good in the ring. Salute to you, Logan Paul. You be doing the damn thing in the Performance Center with your training. You and Bad Bunny have elevated the game to where if another celebrity wants to even consider pulling up to WWE and wrestle, like, yo, the bar is like high. It's about as high as damn George Murison Manute Ball high. It's all the way up there where you're just like, so I got to match that? Yeah, you do. So we get to the match, and this is a methodical start where Logan's teasing the fist. He's like, it's fisting season. To Roman Reigns. But it's fisting season. I'm going to try to hit him with my animanium, titanium, whatever the fuck he has in his hand. I'm going to knock Ricochet out and get the fuck out of here as quickly as possible. Ricochet's like, yo, I do this for a living. I actually wrestle. I'm here weekly. I'm here every day. You're here selectively. Let me take you to deep waters and force you to actually wrestle and see if you can actually keep up with me. Because I am the one and only Ricochet. I am that damn good. And it was Logan Paul basically cutting Ricochet off at every corner. Ricochet working from underneath. Logan Paul playing to the crowd, healing it up. You know, he's doing the Hulk Hogan pose. Oh, what you gonna do, brother, when I hit you with this Prime bottle? Like, Logan wasn't with the shits. Like, he was being physical with Ricochet. He was using his size. You know, there's a height difference. possibly a strength difference, although Ricochet is kind of like ripped. He's like, you know, he was like a walking action figure, but Logan was just getting the better of Ricochet for a while, and then Ricochet starts to turn up. Ricochet starts to hit him with his movesets, where again, this dude is basically a superhero. This dude could fly in the air. What you and I and any other mere mortal that try to wrestle and fail miserably, Ricochet makes look easy. 720, no biggie. Shooting star press, it's Tuesday. Moonsault, do I do front moonsault, back moonsault? How about I just corkscrew it because I'm Ricochet and I can do that? And Ricochet looked like he had Logan Paul down for the count, but Logan Paul was kicking out. And then when Logan was getting the better of Ricochet and trying to put him away, Ricochet was kicking out. So this was getting like some good ass time, to where, again, they were working to it. And the longer this match went, the better this match was. And then we get to the end. That damn dastardly Logan Paul. Ricochet had Logan Paul dead to rights. But Logan Paul, unfortunately, was by the apron, by the hardest part of the ring. And unfortunately, he had one of his cronies, one of his goons, pull up and hand him a set of brass knuckles. So now Logan Paul's got the brass knuckles, and he puts it with his animanium, titanium, whatever fist, and hits Ricochet, cold clocks him. Ricochet just goes to sleep. 1, 2, 3. Logan Paul is your victor. And then to make it worse, Samantha Irvin had to announce it. Here is your winner, Logan Paul. And then the crowd's just booing and just like, what the fuck? You know, Logan tucks the brass knuckles in his tights, smiling at Samantha Irvin like, yo, say that again, say that I won. But we figured Logan Paul was gonna win because Logan Paul had been taking some L's here and there. I believe he took an L to The Miz in that SummerSlam match. He took an L to our tribal chief over in Saudi Arabia. He didn't win the Royal Rumble, even though he got involved, and that's where Logan and Ricochet first entangled. And then Logan also took the L at WrestleMania to Seth Rollins when KSI tried to get involved and failed miserably. Salute to Prime, because that's some good shit. But Logan was due for a victory, and even though they were building Ricochet up, Ricochet has not really been doing much of consequence lately to really be like, nah, he needs to win because he's going on to bigger and bad things. Like, nah, you're just here for the check, to put on a good match, to make Logan Paul look good, and look good they did. This is the second thing I liked on this show. This was a great match. So the third thing that I liked on this show was Gunther and Drew leave it all in the ring. So our beloved, our dominant Intercontinental Champion, Gunther, the ring general, who has been whooping everybody's ass during this title run, that we are now nearing the Honky Tonk Man's record, longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. Gunther is staring that record down, but he had a roadblock in the form of Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam, where Drew wanted some revenge from WrestleMania when there was a triple threat between Gunther, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus. And arguably, there was a lot of great matches at WrestleMania, but that was like one of the 3 best matches where they beat the absolute fuck out of each other. That was a chop fest. That was a big meaty men slapping meat. That was Meat Fest Armageddon. All their superlatives. Like, that was such a fantastic match. So Drew wants some get back, because obviously Drew ain't walk out of WrestleMania with the IC title. And he wants to get back on Gunther, the champion. And salute to Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci, who pulled up, the rest of Imperium, who pulled up and did Gunther's entrance. Normally we love when Samantha Irvin does it, but Ludwig also does it really good. And Gunther came out to make that statement. Like, yo, my boy's gonna announce me. I'm now nearing less than 30 days on this longest reigning title reign. Gunther ain't got, Drew McIntyre ain't got a chance, but Drew pulled up, he's got the kilt, he's got the sword, beware the sword. And this was a physical match. This was exactly what we thought this was going to be. This is going to be hard hitting, this is going to be physical, this is going to be Gunther trying to establish his dominance. But Drew McIntyre is a big boy. That is not a small man. when the aliens, if they ever invade Earth and we gotta send representatives to fight in our stead, like Drew McIntyre is one of those guys we're gonna send up there because that's a big ass dude and the aliens ain't gonna be able to deal with him. And Drew was giving it right back to Gunther. Everything, all them chops Gunther is known for. Sidebar, I still will never take a Gunther chop. You could pay me millions of dollars. You gotta pay me like at least 10 million if I'm taking one chop from Gunther. Them shits look like it hurts. Ow. But Drew was eating his Wheaties because he was eating them chops left and right and was just like, yo, this is chest day, let's go. Give me more. And then was giving it right back to the champion to where he had the champion flustered from time to time. It looked like Drew McIntyre might pull the upset, might dethrone Gunther and take that IC title away from him. But in the end, 1, 2, 3, Gunther stands tall. Drew, add you to the list because Gunther is just on this dominant reign where not only is he standing tall as your champion, but he's put on bangers of matches. Gunther has not missed during this entire Intercontinental title run. Every time he wrestles someone, it's a banger. If it's not the best match on the card, it's damn near close to it. And this was another one that you can add to the list of just like, when we sit back and look back on the Intercontinental title, or even just the last couple of years of like dominant title reigns, but just like who had the best matches during that reign, Gunther's name is going to be up there. Not just for the Intercontinental title, but just overall title reigns, where it's just like the matches are just so good. They're almost match of the night every single time out. Like, say what you want about Roman Reigns, and a lot of Roman Reigns' matches have been very good during our Tribal Chiefs title reign, but some of them have also been like kind of the same, kind of formulaic, and for some of the fans, it's not hitting the same. Whereas Gunther is just not missed. Like Honky Tonk Man, say bye-bye to that record book because Gunther is coming to rewrite history. Etch your name out. Put my name over it. Gunther. All caps. Exclamation points. Underline, underline, underline. As the dominant IC champion. This was the third thing I loved on this card. I love this match. I love this match. This is definitely one pulling back and rewatching. Now, let's get to the one thing I didn't like on this show, which was the MMA rules need to stay in UFC. So we had Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. We had best friends, close friends, now enemies, because Shayna Baszler decided to turn on Ronda Rousey at Money in the Bank. Decided, yo, enough's enough. Even though we are tag team champions, even though you're my partner, I'm tired of being in your shadow. It's like, bro, I've put in this work, sweat, blood, sweat, tears, year in, year out, month in, month out. I helped set up these rings. I helped set up everything, learning this business from the ground up. You came in, you were handed opportunities. You got a high profile tag team match in the middle of the card at WrestleMania 34. A year later, you're main eventing WrestleMania in the first ever women's triple threat. You come back off paternity leave, you win the Royal Rumble, you jump the line over like a couple people and get a high profile title match against Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 38. I'm tired of living in your shadow, and for good reason, because Shayna, even though she had a hot start when she came up to the main roster, cooled off and was just stuck in like tag teams. We don't know what to do with Shayna. Do we put the tag team title on her? Do we keep her in the mid card? Do we let her chill in catering and give that spot to someone else? Well, Ronda always flourished, and Shayna had enough of it where it's like, yo, I'm better than you. I deserve this spot that you were handed. Because you get these spots and then you don't even appreciate it. Because there's times during the second run that, let's be honest, this second Ronda Rousey run ain't been hitting like it was the first time. That first run was great. We got some banger matches. Ronda looked happy. Ronda looked energetic. Ronda looked eager to learn. She had a banger with Charlotte Flair Survivor Series. She had a banger with Sasha Banks at Royal Rumble. She had a solid match with Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam. And even the women's triple threat at WrestleMania 35 was actually solid. It's just a matter of just the crowd was just burnt out by that point. They were tired. It was getting ready to rain. The temperature was dropping. And it was like, all right, it's after midnight and we're just getting to these entrances. Ugh. But that first run was really solid for the most part, even though it tailed off towards the end. This second run ain't hit the same way it did. It felt like whatever happened during Ronda's absence, whether it was listening to the fans that were jumping on her shit for not really being happy for being there or being appreciative of the spots that she was getting, or wrestling fans being tribal and just being like, this is our shit, and you're kind of like an outsider invading it and getting all these opportunities that should be going to other people who are better and more deserved. Whatever was happening is like, you could tell Ronda's heart was not in it the same way that it was the first time. And unfortunately, it suffered as a result. They made her champion when Charlotte Flair went on vacation. Her second or whatever SmackDown title run, it ain't hit like it was supposed to. Like, we were excited when Liv got that title off of her. So when you had Ronda and Shayna as tag team champions, I was actually optimistic, because unfortunately those damn tag team titles have been just cursed. It's like the damn Whoopi Goldberg meme where it's just like, you guys did Sasha Banks and Naomi wrong. Whatever you do with these tag team titles, everything will crumble until you do right by them. Like that type of shit. Where it's like people getting injured, Liv got injured, Raquel got kayfabe injured, Sonya tore her ACL, and it's just left and right. Like, either those titles just hot potato or people can't stay healthy. Dakota blew out her knee, and it's just like, shit, man, are these titles really cursed? But let's get away from those titles into this match, because now you have Shayna and Ronda. They're beefing. We go into SummerSlam. MMA rules match. And this was confusing. This was like, all right, so they can only win by 3 ways: submission, or tap out, knockout. But it's basically a submission match. And unfortunately, with those type of matches, I'm not a big fan of it, because what it's doing is it's taking the crowd out of it. Because if you ever go to a wrestling show, people love to count to 10, to count the near falls. 1, 2, no, or 1, 2, 3. Like, people love to count and cheer and get active. Whereas submission matches, you're taking the crowd out because you're waiting on a submission. So you're waiting on someone to tap out or get put to sleep. Like, rope breaks don't matter, countouts don't matter, disqualifications really don't matter. It's just a straight up like submission match. Where in UFC it works because that crowd is now conditioned for those type of things where you're expecting tap out or knockout, unless we're going to the cards. And that's another thing, is like, we're not having rounds, we're not having a bell, we're not having to corner people. It's just a straight up ring the bell, and we're not ringing the bell until there's a finish here and someone wins. So it kind of is confusing, even though they lay it out pretty solidly on when you're watching at home. But if you're in the crowd, it's like hella confusing, where it's like you're not getting those explanations, and it's just like, all right, so we're just waiting for Ronda or Shayna to basically get put to sleep or tap out. That's a hard ask out of those girls, and I don't want to put it on Ronda and Shayna, who worked their ass off. It was a solid match given for what they were given and what they were trying to do with the physicality. They were trying to use their MMA background and use that to their advantage, and use that for this match style. It's just a matter of, it works better in UFC than WWE. And especially that type of match is like, now you're asking the crowd to basically go to the back and be like, yo, this is a good time to go hit the bathroom. This is a good time to go hit the concession stand. This is a good time to go, do you want some food and drink? Do you want a refill on your beer? Like this, you're asking the crowd to basically do that. And unfortunately, this suffered where the crowd was not into this. You heard little chance of this is boring. You heard little like frustration or just like disillusion coming out of it, where it's like, we get what girls are trying to do, and God bless you, but we're kind of ready for the next match. Or if y'all gonna take your time, then I'm gonna get up and go real quick. So Shayna Baszler in the end puts Ronda to sleep. Because you know how Triple H be doing. If Triple H got the book, Triple H gonna make sure, like, how do we make you look strong but not tap out? You go night-night. You go night-night. So, unfortunately, Ronda went night-night. She took a long nap real quick. And Shayna Baszler stands tall. Now, is this the last match we'll see of Ronda Rousey in the WWE? Who knows? Vince McMahon has conditioned us to be like, never say never, but if that's Ronda's last match, yikes. That's going out with a thumper, and not a good one. So this is the one thing I didn't like on the show, because I felt like the Ronda and Shayna could have done better. I think they could have given them a better stipulation, whether it's a Hell in a Cell, whether it's a cage match, whether it's something else other than submission, because it's basically like just a MMA rules submission match alone, you're taking the crowd out of it. And then this was a feud that, like, it got hot in the last 2 weeks because the video packages have been tremendous, but it didn't really have any juice going in it. Not like Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus has been going on for months and has had a good amount of juice injected into that feud. Just kind of felt like, we get it. It's Ronda Rousey. You gotta have her on the card. It's the second biggest show of the year. And if Ronda's gone, obviously she wants to put over her close friend Shayna Baszler, but this wasn't it, man. This wasn't it, and it didn't do the girl any favors. So that was the one thing I didn't like on the show. Now, let's get to my match recommendation on this card, which was Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. Tribal combat. Dun, 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 dun. Fight. So we have our beloved Tribal Chief, who was on this going on historic championship reign. He is knocking down history left and right. You had the 4th longest title reign, not anymore. You had the 5th longest title reign, not anymore. You had the 6th longest title reign, not anymore. Roman's climbing the charts for best of all time, or one of the best of all time. So we're on this historic going on 3-year title reign with the Tribal Chief, because SummerSlam 2020 was when he came back. He nerfs Braun Strowman. He nerfs The Fiend Bray Wyatt. Wreck everybody and leave. Whoops their ass and establishes his dominance. Like, not only am I back, I'm coming back to reclaim my shit, which is the top of the card. The birth of the Tribal Chief. The genesis of the Wise Man, Paul Heyman. And this feud between Roman and Jey goes even all the way back there, because the first thing Roman did once he became champion was, yo, my cousin Jey, fall in line or else we will fall in line. Unfortunately, Jey was dolo. Jimmy was gone with a torn ACL. He was home resting, recuperating, and Jey was taking those lumps from Roman, because Roman was beating that ass and not the champions. Roman was beating that ass at Hell in a Cell. Roman was beating that ass on SmackDown, Raw, wherever they started to pull up, where you see the genesis of main event Jey Uso working his way up, facing Daniel Bryan, facing Cesaro, facing all these guys. But then not only does he got to face these guys, he's also got to deal with his cousin, who's just like maniacal and just in his ear and just on his Joe Budden shit, just manipulating, gaslighting. And it's just like, ugh. So Roman's had this coming. Roman's had a receipt longer than a CVS receipt coming from Jey Uso, because Jey Uso's had about enough. Unfortunately, Jimmy Uso wasn't there. We'll get back to this later, because Solo Sikoa and Roman made sure to take Jimmy Uso out at the SmackDown at MSG. So now that Jey got the pin over Roman Reigns, the first time Roman's been pinned in damn near 4 years. I believe it's close to 4 years, if not longer than 4 years. Jey got the pin. So if I pin the Tribal Chief, maybe I should come for the title and not just the undisputed Universal Championship. I'm coming for the Tribal Chief title. I want the leg. I want the thing that Roman has around his neck when he comes out. I know that's got to be like a family thing or Samoan thing. I'm just forgetting off the top of my head, but I'm coming for it all. And Roman acknowledging, like, all right, you want to be the Tribal Chief? Let's go. 1v1. We're putting everything on the line. So now we get to SummerSlam, the main event. Because, of course, Roman main events. He's basically main evented this entire time during his run. So we got the main event, Tribal Combat, which is basically, it feels like a hardcore match with basically is ending by pinfall submission. Everything goes. You can use tables, you can use ladders, you can use chairs. Oh my. You can basically bring the entire island of Samoa and get them involved. Or not. Apparently there was a little confusion following SummerSlam as far as like, what are the specific rules for Tribal Combat, what they can and can't do? Because I understood this as, this is basically a hardcore match. It's like one of you are either gonna tap or get pinned. End of story. Especially when you got the tribal chief title, the head of the table on the line. It's like, nah, we gotta have a finish this. So this was physical. This was brutal. This was storytelling. At one point, Roman looks like he injures his ribs on the outside. Jey is just beating his ass. And Paul Heyman's just in Jay's ear like, that's your cousin. That's your family. That's your tribal chief. What are you doing, Jay? But, you know, when Roman got the upper hand, Roman was being merciless. Roman's like, bro, I'm a tribal chief for a reason. Have you not learned your lesson from the Thunderdome when I was just beating that ass ad nauseum? Do I gotta remind you? Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is the tribal chief. And eventually it spills to the outside where they go over to the technical area on the outside. And then, is that Solo Sikoa's music? Yes. And bad news for Jey Uso, that is Solo Sikoa's music, because Solo gets involved. He comes ready with the thumb. He's ready to thumb him. But it becomes a 2-on-1 on the outside. Jey Uso basically gets put through a table, gets dragged back to the ring. You know how fucking angry they gotta be if they're dragging your carcass on the floor in Detroit, Michigan? That's some level of savagery and pissed offness. But we get back to the ring, and eventually Jey Uso starts to get the upper hand again. Takes out Solo Sikoa. Takes out Solo Sikoa the same way Solo Sikoa took out Jimmy Uso and tried to take out Jey Uso, with a splash off the apron through the table. So Solo's out. And then Jey ends up getting the upper hand on Roman and gets ready to pin him. 1, 2. All of a sudden, he gets dragged out of the ring. I'm just like, what the fuck? He gets dragged out of the ring by a guy in a black hoodie and whatnot. And we're like, who the fuck is this now? Because this is like reminiscent of Clash at the Castle, where Drew McIntyre had Roman Reigns dead to rights, hit him with the Claymore, 1, 2, drags him out, and then all of a sudden, that was Solo Sikoa in the flesh that cost Drew McIntyre the title. So now we have a repeat of this, where now the hooded person takes Jey Uso out of the ring, and then come to find out, it's Jimmy fucking Uso. Oh my god. So twin magic is now working against the twins, and apparently Jimmy had an axe to grind, because let's rewind back a couple SmackDowns ago when the Usos eventually turned on our tribal chief, where Jay was just laying it out to Jimmy. He was like, bro, let's be dead ass. That entire year you were gone on the shelf with a torn ACL, while you were gone, I elevated, dude. I became main event Jey Uso. I was going out there with our tribal chief Roman Reigns. I was holding the fort down. I was elevating to where I basically became a main eventer. I'm main eventing this show with our cousin. And where were you? Nowhere to be fucking found. You were obviously injured, but in your absence, I shined. And I kind of eclipsed you. So, you know, as a sibling, you kind of feel away, because when you get those harsh words and that harsh reality from your brother or your sister or like your close sibling, it's like, bro. And then a twin at that. Ooh. So Jay kind of had this coming, because Jimmy was like, yo, not only did I not forget, receipt is coming, my friend. So he super kicks his twin. Why, Jimmy? Why? Jimmy Uso turns on his brother, Jey Uso. And then, for good measure, Roman Reigns puts Jey Uso through a table. 1, 2, 3, and still your undisputed Universal Champion, and still your tribal chief, Roman Reigns. We acknowledge Roman Reigns in this household. So Roman stands tall. Jimmy walks away, you know, and just discuss over his brother, and Jay is just there to pick up the pieces and just like, what the hell, man? But this was just a great match with excellent storytelling. I know people get tired of the finish of like, there's always chicanery in the end, but at the same time, this is where this story was going. We knew Jey Uso was not winning this match. We knew Roman was going to stand tall. Shit, Roman's going all the way to WrestleMania 40 as your champion, like it or not. So how do we get there to where Roman defeats Jey but doesn't bury him? Boom. You have insert Jimmy Uso, and now we have a potential of Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso in an actual feud, reminiscent of when the Hardys were going at it. Went back in 2009 when Matt Hardy turned on Jeff Hardy. That's how Jeff Hardy lost his WWE Championship. And then it goes all the way to WrestleMania 25, Matt versus Jeff. In that, I believe that was an Extreme Rules match. But they feuded for a while, and that was something they were looking forward to. Even though the crowd was like, we don't want to see the Hardys feud. But here, we're kind of ready to see Jimmy versus Jey. It's just, damn, Jimmy. Why? We kind of know why, but at the same time, we just gotta say it out loud. So this was my match recommendation. Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Tribal Combat. I gotta do it one more time. So let's get to rating this bad boy. So if you need a fresh reminder on how we rate things on this channel, we go by the mic scale on a scale of 5 mics, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. If I give a show 5 mics, that means this show was a classic. From start to end, it was fantastic. I couldn't find any flaws. Definitely pull up the match recommendation. Definitely make some time, carve out some time in your schedule, and go pull this up immediately. This is a must-watch show. If I give a show 4 mics, that means this show was very good. This was a lot of good. Maybe 1 or 2 things didn't hit as well, but a very good show. Definitely pull up the match recommendation and go pull this up when you can make some time. If I give a show 3 mics, that means this show was solid. Some good, some meh, maybe 1 or 2 bad, but overall this is solid. Go check out the match recommendation. Otherwise, it's up to you if you guys want to watch the show or not. If I give a show 2 mics, that means this show needed some work. You know, there were 1 or 2 things that were good on the show, but overall, it didn't hit like it's supposed to. It needed to just cook in the oven a little longer. Outside the match recommendation, you can kind of basically pass on this. And if I give this show 1 mic, that means this show was trash. Basura, get this shit out of here. I struggled to find 1 positive thing on the show. And it was not good. Skip. I sat down and watched WWE SummerSlam from Detroit, Michigan. You had Tribal Combat, Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. You had the women's triple threat, Asuka, Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair. You had Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar in a grudge match, Logan Paul, Ricochet, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor for Seth's beautiful championship. You had the Slim Jim Battle Royal, including LA Knight. Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 5, I gave this show 5 mics. Now, I flirted with breaking my scale and giving this a 4.5 because this felt between a 4 and a 5. Now, the reason why I gave this 5 mics was because I absolutely enjoyed this show. This was a fantastic show from start to end. It flowed quickly. By the time I looked up, it was like, oh, we're already at the main event. Like, this show was going by quick versus other shows that tend to like drag and whatnot. Even though I wasn't a fan of the MMA rules match, it was actually a solid match though, all things given, compared to other matches that they have in the past where it's like, yo, this ain't hit. So if Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler have like a solid and everything else after that is good, the Battle Royal was fun. Seth Rollins and Finn Balor was a fantastic match. That's another one that if you have some time, go pull that up. That's a fantastic match and the best of the Seth Rollins Finn Balor series. Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar, you know, the rubber match. You know, Cody had that first one in Backlash. Brock got his lick back and then some in the Saudi show. That was physical match. But it told a great story. Cody overcoming the odds, overcoming the Beast Incarnate, even tearing the Beast's shorts. He almost had, his little Beast Incarnates hanging out. That would not have been PG. But that was also a fantastic match. It was just, this card has so many great things. And like I said, Ron and Shayna, they worked their ass off and that was solid. I personally liked it for the most part. So that's where I was flirting with. This is kind of 4.5 mic territory, but I'm not ready to break my scale for that yet, because then if you're gonna go there, then you're gonna start doing, well, this was 4 1/4, or this was 3 3/4, and it's like there's other places you can go for reviews that do that shit. You know, Meltzer has his own fucking scale that he breaks on a regular, when he talks about, well, I give this 3.75. If this would have been in the Tokyo Dome, this would be 5 stars. Like, man, we ain't doing that. We're gonna keep it nice and simple on this channel. So even though this feels like a 4.5 mic show, I'm giving this 5 mics because I personally enjoyed this. This was fun. You know, me taking my SummerSlam bias aside, again, WWE has not missed with these premium live events all year. Elimination Chamber in Montreal, Backlash in Puerto Rico, Money in the Bank in London, obviously Mania being Mania and Royal Rumble being Royal Rumble. They have not missed this year, and this is just another notch on their belt where they don't miss. They didn't miss in this one. And shout out to Detroit, because y'all were a solid crowd, and you got a bomb ass show, all things considered. So 5 mics for me. Again, Tribal Combat, pull that up. Gunther, Drew, pull that up. Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, pull that up. Basically everything except the MMA match. Maybe the MMA match, like, that's your bathroom break, but everything else is good on this shit. So that's where I'm at with it, and that's where I landed. So that's my review of SummerSlam. So let's wrap this bad boy up. Now, you can find me on all social media platforms at It's JustinRitch. You can find me normally Wednesday nights on Twitch, on Those Wrestling Girls Twitch channel from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for TWGFanClub with myself, Queen PR, Brian H. Waters, and Seindole B. We talk all types of wrestling and whatever the fan club feels like talking about that week. This week we talked about Cody Rhodes' unpopular opinion. We talked about the documentary. We talked about his rise and fall. We looked at WrestleMania. Should he have gone over and beaten the Tribal Chief at WrestleMania 39? You're gonna have to pull it up on the replay and go watch, whether it's on Twitch or you can catch all replays on TWGFanClub on Those Wrestling Girls YouTube channel. We have the entire catalog up there on top of amazing TWG content from the crew. You can catch it from time to time. Twitter Spaces, Tuesday nights around 6:35 p.m. for Turnbuckle Talk with me and Corey, where we talk all things wrestling. You can catch me from time to time on True Heel Heat Sports and True Heel Heat Wrestling. Both of those channels are located on YouTube, where we talk sports, wrestling, and all that fun stuff. Your boy has had a busy couple days, and the last couple week or two, talking wrestling, Raw watch along, SmackDown watch along, SummerSlam preview on the True Heel Heat channel. Salute to the boys over there who are doing fantastic work. So we've been active, and SummerSlam is just the icing on the cake. We here, we outside, we active, we acknowledge our tribal chief. We salute to you, Io Sky, our brand new women's champion. Cody Rhodes, you did the damn thing. Seth Rollins, you stood tall. And the people of Detroit, you guys were fantastic. And on that note, we out. Peace.